Hey, you can just do stuff. Like you don't need anybody's permission or anything. You just kind of come up with weird stuff you want to go do. You can just go do it. Okay, go be weird. Okay, bye.
Hey, fun fans, it's We Enjoy. Go Tootsie, go Tootsie, go. Go Tootsie, go Tootsie, go. Tootsie, Tootsie, rap, Tootsie. Uh,
But
today,
not the hit song from that movie. The legit hit song from that movie is not the title track.
it's not that title track, but the title track does say Go Tootsie, go.
Right?
It's also not like Go Speed Racer, go. I had never seen Tootsie, but Tootsie is in our main event today. I've watched it now. We're going to talk about it as we do. What are we doing? Like six episodes? Did we even tell people 6 weeks
I think we might have mentioned 6 weeks of 82. Yeah,
6 weeks of 1982, going back 40 years, 1982, doing some big movies, but maybe not the biggest movies. Not, not 18, not Blade Runner, not things that we might put into other different movie binge.
You're mentioning Blade Runner. I mean, E.T. of course was the biggest movie of all time when it came out. Blade Runner didn't do so hot. Tootsie, number 2 movie of 82 after E.T. I'm
not saying like biggest like box office boffo bucks.
No,
I'm saying biggest in our hearts.
No, I know. I'm more mentioning the fact that people, especially people who, if you're younger and listening to this podcast in 2022, might not guess that Tootsie was the second biggest movie of 1982.
Tootsie was a huge, and this is something, even though I didn't see Tootsie, I knew Tootsie was a huge hit financially and also at the Oscars. Like it didn't win, it didn't clean sweep, but Jessica Lange won, and we'll talk about it later. Jessica Lange won. It got nominated for a shit ton of Oscars
and awards.
Not just Oscars, but awards all over the place. So we're going to talk about that movie in our main event today, and then later, right before that, I'll give you my pick for next week's 1982 main event. But let's get into a little bit of news here. Going to try to rush through this episode a little bit. And I know the joke is I say that and then we don't, but I really will try. The discipline here, the end goal is to maybe tighten up these episodes in general, because running 90 minutes to 2 hours in the podcast game isn't wise, but whatever. We talk a lot.
I mean, look, Matt, you're talking to someone who's been listening to Rob has a podcast, the Survivor podcast, where he just posted a 5-hour, 45-minute interview with the winner of this season's Survivor. And I'm listening to it bit by bit. So.
Bit by bit, great song from the Fletch soundtrack, Theme to Fletch. I'm going to start, just because you mentioned Survivor, I'm going to start off with an actual, we only got one message this week. This actually came to us via email. So you can write into us at weenjoypodcast@gmail.com, or you can message us on Twitter or Patreon. If you're a Patreon subscriber, that's $4 a month. Will get you commercial-free episodes plus our bonus episodes.
To be fair, we didn't give people a lot of time to send a message this time, because we went up late last week and we're doing this one early.
So. I know, short window. We're also doing this one Tuesday night instead of Wednesday. But so Kermit wrote in, basically said, "Hey, Mattitude Eric." Actually, I didn't say that. So Kermit, thanks for the segue. We are the Mattitude Eric. I am Matt Fowler. Say hello, Eric Goldman.
Hello, everybody.
And Kermit writes, "Hey, Mattitude Eric, I'll try to make this quick." That's what I just said about this podcast, Kermit. I'll try to make this quick. Loving the Jurassic Park franchise recap. So many great memories. This is strictly for Eric. What an amazing season of Survivor we got. That's just all he has to say. That's not a question.
And Kermit, I agree. It was a great season of Survivor. Just a really standout season with a great cast. And again, I made it my good thing to enjoy last week, because if you have ever been Survivor inclined, it's a really strong season. 42, I recommend it.
Yeah, I've never leaned Survivor sexual, but I don't know. Maybe one day I'll break down and I'll test out one of these Survivor seasons that you recommend. I'm just not one for the reality competition game. But then Kermit continues, "Don't know if you guys take recommendations on what to enjoy, but the Guardians of Galaxy ride at Disney World is a blast. Warning, may cause a little motion sickness." Now, Kermit, I'm assuming because you said Disney World, you're talking about the coaster.
The new one, yeah.
Yeah, which Eric has ridden. I have not, but I did ride Mission Breakout, which is the reskinned Tower of Terror at Disneyland, or I should say California Adventure. But yeah. Did it cause you motion sickness, Eric?
No, not at all. But I know he's not alone in mentioning that. I rode that ride 9 times, I think, in a day at the press event. You can read my article at fandom.com about it. Disney World's Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind links Marvel and Epcot lore is the headline. No, I loved it. I think it's a great ride. It's really fun.
Your headline is ride it 8 times, not 9.
8 will give you motion sickness. No, 9 times fixes it. I thought it was really fun, and I have heard some people get motion sickness. It didn't for me. I thought it was smooth and steady, but really fun ride.
Then Kermit has a wrestling question. Mm-hmm. Who defeats Roman Reigns? I don't see anyone doing that anytime. So who do they build up to do it? Great question. I think WWE doesn't even know because their roster is really shallow right now. Yeah. My quick answer before a few days ago would have been Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam, but that's probably on hold at this point. But I still think it's Cody Rhodes, even though they just turned Edge babyface. But yeah, Drew McIntyre, Cody Rhodes, or Edge are my picks for now.
I say Cody because even though he's going to be gone for a few months, they're not taking it off Roman anytime soon, probably. So
yeah, it could even hold. It could hold a WrestleMania again, even though I think that would be kind of boring. But I also feel like Cody says he's going to be in Money in the Bank, so as long as he has that contract, he can do it whenever he wants. Okay, and then Kermit just closes it out with knee lift, Shakma, dog calls, and all the Chucky farts. Kermit, not the one running for Congress. Is someone running for Congress named Kermit, Eric?
I guess. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to take.
Kermit's words for it. Yeah. Kermit.
Kermit is probably aware of all the other famous Kermits that are doing things, where I'm not. So I think we talked about this movie before on the podcast, but the trailer officially came out today, which is Prey, which is a fun trailer to send to somebody who is unaware, and this is probably a lot of people because it's going to be on Hulu and it hasn't gotten a lot of hype, was unaware that there was a new Predator movie coming out at all. And the trailer plays great because you could send it to someone and say, hey, watch this. It looks really cool. And then you don't know it's a Predator movie till halfway through the trailer. Mm-hmm. So,
or you show it to your wife and about halfway through, she goes, is this?
So I sent it to someone who I knew would be really psyched, and they were. Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, it looks really great. Amber Mid-Thunder is in it, and it takes place 300 years ago. And even though it's 300 years ago, it brings back what we kind of loved about the first movie, even though there's not machine guns and Gatling guns and Jesse Ventura spitting tobacco. It's just a predator and the hero in a forest, which is something that we love. I know Predators had a forest planet too, but did I see that movie? I'm asking you, like you would know.
I don't know if
I'm asking the universe, really, but yeah.
So by the way, so it's directed by Dan Trachtenberg, who has a short resume, but one I really like because I love 10 Cloverfield Lane, which is his only other feature film, and he directed the pilot to The Boys, which is a show I love. And so yeah, I'm psyched on this. I was already excited just on paper with the director, the lead actress, and the concept, which is something the comic books have done a lot, like these kind of like set in different eras, but the movies have not. And then this trailer came out today and it looked freaking awesome. And I watched it a bunch of times. I am laughing because I'm glancing at Dan Trachtenberg's Wikipedia page, which has the strangest personal life listing I've seen, which is personal life. Trachtenberg had a bar mitzvah, married Priscilla Trachtenberg. He is not related to actress Michelle Trachtenberg. Like his personal life has a non-fact about him, which I
guess it's just such a huge misconception. Right. As people were also, everyone was going around saying he did not have a bar mitzvah, so they had to clarify that.
And well, by the way, it does the footnote on that is him tweeting LOL no when someone asked him if he was related to Michelle Trachtenberg in 2012.
Yeah, so but also he could be lying. Right. Like that's just a prank he's playing on his sister.
Michelle.
Trachtenberg also went on record saying that there were some God of War homages from the video game in the movie, which also you can see in the trailer. One is the shield that you see briefly that appears out of nowhere as interlocking metal parts, because that's how Kratos' shield works. And also the way that Naru, I assume is the character played by Amber Mid-Thunder, holds her axe.
If you say so.
I do. I didn't say so. Brother of Michelle Trachtenberg said so.
That's right.
All right. Now let's talk about Nev Campbell not being in the next Scream movie, which is something we sort of posited.
But we didn't know that it actually become like a little controversial story.
We didn't know that we would manifest it ourselves. Which is something, again, that we were both totally fine with, because there are enough surviving people plus Kirby coming back for this next movie that makes it really cool and can sort of stand on its own. Also, Courtney Cox, right? So
yep. But the story here, what made it a story is not that she's not in the next movie, which I assume to be like, oh, they just decided to not write her into the script for this, which I could see them deciding to do. Like, be like, oh, Sydney doesn't need to be in this movie. She can come back some other time if they want. Instead, it turns out they wanted her to be in this movie, and she has put out a statement saying she's not going to be in it because she thought the offer was too low. And so that, now it's kind of like a controversy thing about like, why were they underpaying her? Were they underpaying her? Look, who knows the specifics here? I will speculate wildly that I would guess, it would still have been a small part. Would it have been a single scene small part? Would it have been a small part like the fifth one? I don't know. I'm guessing either way they could do this movie without her. And this is not I love Nev Campbell as Sydney. And I also think even when I was saying I don't need her to be in the Scream 6, I was saying that thinking one day she'll play Sydney again, because that's how it works. And I never thought she would like not be back. And that's what I think still. I think either they'll work it out because Paramount will be like getting bad press and decide to work it out, or she's not in this one, but they still have her come back in the next one. But it is interesting. This became a little bit.
Pay Sydney what she's worth. Pay her the Prescott bucks. I feel
like
the
Prescott bucks.
It's also that balance, and we went through this just with the sequel trilogy for Star Wars, which is like you want to make room for the new cast and pass the torch.
Yes,
and yet you also want to honor the legacy characters. And you also like have that thing where it's like what Scream might do, because so far the track record is reflects it, is that like one giant legacy character of the trio dies each movie. But then also, does that work with balancing the new cast? Does that really give them what they like I don't know. Like, how do you service the new and really like let them be their own while you still have these older characters? And I don't know. Because it's one thing to have them come in on the adventure. It's another thing. It's like you just go and talk to them and they say, oh, yeah, this is my advice. It's another thing to have them come in and actually be an active part of the violent third act. So, I look forward to what they do without Sydney more than I look forward to what they do with Sydney until it's actually the final Scream movie.
Yeah. I mean, I love the character. I want her to come back at some point. I think they could. I already thought, as we discussed last time, that they could do this movie without her. It's a shame that it's like a bad blood situation at the moment, but I think they'll work it out. It is funny though, because who the hell knows? Like, there was all that stuff with John DiMaggio not coming back for Futurama because he felt like they weren't paying him enough money. Which, again, because like all.
But then he's coming back and he's not getting more money.
He's not coming back. He's not getting more money. He's like, I did decide to come back and get the same amount as everyone else. Because what I wonder, I mean, frankly, I can't help but wonder. Courtney Cox is coming back. Did they offer her the same amount and she said that's cool? Or did they say they were offering her more because she could, she is a bigger star outside of Scream than Nev Campbell is because she's got the Friends stardom? I don't know. But it is interesting when this stuff gets public. You never know if it'll resolve or not. Quickly we'll see what happens.
Man, so no one told you that life was going to be this way.
No, contract negotiations would be complicated.
You love life's DOA.
I'm glancing at Twitter and I don't even want to know why I see trending Kid Rock trending with hashtag Predator.
Oh, I don't know. Last time I saw Kid Rock is like he had some drunken rant against Oprah Winfrey, but maybe that's it. Maybe he's like, I want her to be in a Predator movie. I don't know. He's ridiculous and no one should talk about him. Let's talk about
Predator. Yeah.
Let's talk about the Kid Rock of the DC universe, the Joker. Joker 2 is officially a go. Not that we had any doubts, but it was announced that a script is set and it has a title, which is, man, I wrote it down and now I forget it, but I should remember it because we actually brought it up actually brought this term up during our Killer Couples marathon. So it's called, Joker Folie à Deux, and that means madness of two. And that is something that the psychological phenomenon that I brought up. I don't know which movie, but it kind of applied to most of the movies we did during that binge. But yeah, it's sort of like a shared delusion that of a pair. Sometimes they're the siblings, sometimes they're lovers, sometimes they're just really close, that feed off each other, and like they're dangerous together. And like if you separate them, their delusions and their sort of mental imbalance subsides. But once you put them together, and they're sort of toxic and crazy. And so a lot of people obviously speculating that this means Harley Quinn.
Does it mean Harley Quinn? Does it mean some sort of different protege character or some different partner character? Yeah, we'll see. It's funny that he said there was no doubt. I mean, Joker was a giant, massive hit. And at the end of the day, that's what talks. It is just funny when Joker was first being made, they were like, this is so standalone. And they acted like there was no sequel talk. And then as it was getting closer, that's when we started to hear, oh, well, we'll see. And then the movie makes $1 billion. And then it's like, oh, maybe we could do another one. And now there's a picture of Joaquin Phoenix reading the script.
And he's like, hate it. Not doing it. I'm out. Get yourself a new Joker.
And Nev Campbell steps in.
And she's like, I'm the Joker. Pay me money. So then you wrote here under news, WB still wants a Feige. Well, first of all, who wouldn't want a Feige? Comes with all these big ideas.
Like, we hear this once a year.
Yeah, I know. First of all, I'll let you take this away, but I don't think I'm the only one who feels this, is that WB had a Feige, and his name was Greg Berlanti. And it's sort of the closest and most successful Feige they had as far as a shared DC universe.
Right. Who's still doing shows for them.
Yeah, the Arrowverse isn't dead. Yeah.
But also he's got the Green Lantern show for
HBO Max. That's right. Right. Yeah.
No, this, look, there's a, WB changes, turnovers are commonplace there. It's happening again because now they just did the merger with Discovery, and they've got a new head, David Zaslav, and he's putting in new people to run the movie division, including Michael DeLuca is one of the people co-running it. He used to be at New Line for many years, and wrote Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare. But there's just this report about once again, they, a priority, and we always hear this is DC, and getting it, something more cohesive, getting a new plan. It's always weird though, because it's like they've had some huge hits and they've had some failures. But certainly, I mean, with Joker, we just mentioned Joker and Aquaman making $1 billion.
The biggest hits were solo movies, right? As far as like Aquaman, there was a connection to Avengers, but it was his story.
To Avengers, Matt.
Whatever. Whatever. Who gives a fuck? But
you don't know what the fuck you're talking
Wonder Woman and Aquaman and the Batman and Joker, some were completely separate and others were tethered to Justice League, but they were just doing their own thing. And those were the biggest ones. And Shazam, was also a hit. And didn't even show Henry Cavill's face, or did they? I don't remember.
No,
did I see that movie?
I don't know if you saw it. Henry Cavill was not in it.
I did see Shazam. But isn't the ending where you see his torso?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, but it wasn't Cavill. It was just somebody.
No, it was not Cavill. It was somebody.
It was Henry Thomas.
And then yes, Birds of Prey underperformed. Wonder Woman 84. Who can even say? Because no matter what you think of that movie, it opened like early it was impossible to see in a theater. I mean, it theatrically did release simultaneous with HBO Max, but it was not even a possibility for me to see that movie in a theater.
Nobody was going out at that point. That was a crazy movie, Eric.
Yes, and then unfortunately the Suicide Squad was a theatrical bomb, even though it begat Peacemaker, which is a very well received show that's been renewed for season 2. All that being said, I still think that they've had a lot of success in recent years and seems much more in a better place than they did, say, 6 years ago. Who knows? But yeah, once again, the talk of wanting a Feige, wanting more cohesion. And the weirdest thing that came up, and this was 6 days ago before Todd Phillips was like, we're going forward on Joker 2, was them saying that Todd Phillips is someone that Zaslav had thought about, even, which makes no sense. Look, I thought Joker was fine, but Todd Phillips has like no background with comic book stuff. Like that was his whole thing with doing Joker. Is like, I don't want to be connected to all this other stuff.
Yeah, and Joker is a very non-comic book movie.
Yes. So even the idea that they would even be like, ooh, he should be involved in our bigger DC plans.
Yeah, we want it all to feel like late 70s Scorsese. It's like if only all our superhero movies could be Mean Streets.
This was Hollywood Reporter. They say sources say he has asked Todd Phillips to do more in the DC universe, potentially acting as an advisor, that he will not serve in an executive capacity. So it wasn't like they wanted him to be the Feige, but they wanted him to advise the Feige. Anyway, that was weird. I don't have much to say here except that this is just a constant thing. I think that it's a little bit overstated right now because they've had plenty of success in recent years, even factoring in stuff that didn't hit. So
you know who'd be great in Justice League? Tootsie. By the way, still very upset. I only watched the movie yesterday. That his name, not Tootsie, which is something that someone like me who'd never seen the movie
says the name Tootsie. So,
would Tootsie be like his Shazam?
Maybe
like it's like Tootsie.
Transform.
All right, let's get into. I already read the one piece of mail, so we can just get into our good things to enjoy.
Sure.
Before we do, let me talk about what the movie is for next week. I have decided to go back to 1982 and find movies I saw in the theater that scared the shit out of little me.
Yeah. If we were doing that, I would pick Poltergeist, except that one day we might do that as a franchise. So we're not doing that.
Poltergeist doesn't quite theme because I didn't see that ever in the theater.
Really? I saw in the theater.
That was a rental.
Definitely scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, it scared the shit out of me as a rental. Sure. But yeah, didn't see it in the theater. I was only seeing
because my parents didn't give a shit what they took me to. So.
My mom cared too much.
Sure.
Mine is The Secret. And do I even know this is how you pronounce it? Secret of Nim.
Yeah, that's how I always said
it. Back in the 80s, animation was in a bit of a slump, so not everything was Disney, and there were some other companies making movies, and this was Don Bluth's first directorial debut as an animated film director, because he went on to also do The American Tail, Land Before Time, and some other things. But this was Secret of Nim, a dark ass movie that when they were making sort of like grim the kids movies, these were kids movies. There was no PG-13 though yet at this point. So there was always this weird sort of disturbing gray area in movies that we watched as kids that were aimed at us because this was PG, or was it G? I don't even know. I'm assuming it was PG. But yeah, that's a pick for next week, and you can watch it on. It's a tight 80 minutes. I don't know. It's a quick movie.
Sure.
And
it was a G, by the way, because I remember this was when pretty much all animated movies, unless they were like Bakshi or something, were G. Like Disney never had a PG movie until 20 years ago or something. So
yeah, and it's funny because we talk about how the 90s were huge in something like Lion King, and then especially Aladdin is when we got into actually sort of not casting voice actors as much anymore and casting celebrities, to in their movies. Robin Williams was a big part of that, and then it just sort of snowballed from there. But that wasn't the first movie to do that. So let me give you a rundown of this great cast. Dom DeLuise, Eric, Derek Jacobi, Peter Strauss, so Will Wheaton, little Will Wheaton.
Yeah, well, people before they were stars, like
Shannon Doherty. Yeah, these are the kids. But yeah, there wasn't the celebrities who did animated voices back in the early 80s were like not celebrities that kids would care about. They would just sort of picked for their I don't know. I wasn't sitting in the theater like, holy shit, that's Tom DeLuise.
You weren't?
I do that now.
Sure.
But anyway, you can watch this on Tubi with ads, or Hoopla, or Roku with ads, or Canopy, however that works. Is that the library one?
I think it is, yes.
Or you can rent it. I am going to watch it on Tubi with ads, personally. in case you wanted to know how I was.
Everyone make your own decision.
Yeah, I'm saying, like, you make your own choice here. But yeah, that's my pick for next week. So let's get into our good things to enjoy this week. Eric, you start off because you are not the only one I have seen tweet about this movie.
Yes, because this movie changes your life. So I can't recommend this enough.
Jesus Christ, I might have to change my pick now just because.
R is my recommendation. I believe that's how you say it. I don't think you say triple R. I think you're just saying R.
And also, you don't go R.
Which right up front, I want to say the thing about this movie is it is on Netflix. So you can choose to watch it on Netflix, and that'll be a much simpler way for you to watch it. However, if you were able to see it in the theater, and this is not my bullshit snooty of the theatrical experience, this is my like, guys, you want to have fun, get your ass to a theater showing this. And it is playing limited theater. I saw in LA it was playing in one theater this week, but now it's going to be at our Alamo again. It keeps coming back because it's a thing. It's becoming like a Rocky Horror, like a thing, like a cult thing. So that's what I'm going to say is like, look if it's playing anywhere near you. And if it's not right now, see if it's going to be playing coming this weekend near you, just in case, because if you can see this movie in a theater, guys, with a bunch of people, I recommend the hell of it. And I bring friends, you'll just have a grand old time.
Bring your own people.
I almost don't want to say too much about it, but I do have to put a caveat because everything I'm saying about this movie is counterintuitive because I'm saying it's on Netflix where you can watch it easily, but don't watch it that way. And then I'm going to throw you the curveball if you don't know anything about it saying, oh, it's 3 hours and it's subtitled, which I also know are like giant red flags for people.
Yeah, because it's Indian, right?
It's an Indian movie. Here's the thing. It is the most fucking fun time I've had in a theater in ages. And it is a blast. It is so enjoyable. I don't want to say too much about the plot, but I'll say it's an action movie. But there is some musical elements to it once in a while. But first and foremost, it's an action movie. It is insane in all the great ways. It is hard on sleeve in all the great ways. It is just a blast and a ride. And when I went to see it with the oft mentioned Brent Simons and his wife, Benita, we went to see it the other night and it was sold out in a small theater, the only theater playing in LA. And a bunch of like young dudes came in right before the movie. And I was like, oh shit. Because
all the young dudes, they were loud and rowdy and they clearly were going to be loud and rowdy during the movie. And I was like, oh no. But then it was also clear they'd seen the movie already because they were like, oh, this is so good. And they were like raving to some people they brought with them and all. And then the movie began and I got it because this movie makes you get loud. Everyone was yelling. Everyone is, cheering. Everyone was just like, it is a movie that demands you start cheering and yelling and whooping. Anyway, so I see obviously a primarily Indian cast, but also Ray Stevenson is in there.
Ray Stevenson is in it, and so is Allison Doody
from
Indiana
Last Crusade.
Jones and The Last Crusade. Yeah. They play the villains. And Ray Stevenson, I was like, oh shit, I didn't know he was in this. And then I didn't recognize Allison Doody and looked up afterwards like, oh shit, okay, from Last Crusade. So there is, parts of the movie that are in English with their characters and one of the main characters who speaks English. But most of it's subtitled, but it's all wonderful and amazing. And I know it's like, I'm like, guys, everyone go to a 3-hour subtitle movie. It is the opposite of what you expect a 3-hour subtitle movie to be. It is just like you will like it feels like you're watching like Endgame opening night because it elicits you start cheering and like going crazy, even if you're not familiar with these very famous actors in India who star in this movie. That's kind of all I want to say about it because I just want people to watch it. And if you're
just a reminder to everyone that Secret of Nim is 80 minutes.
right. You can watch Secret of Nim a couple times.
You watch it like 4 times.
You're like, Eric, I looked it up. It's nowhere near me. I want to watch it. I'll just say, if you have access to a big TV, and if you can get some friends, if you can get a group with you to watch this movie, even if it's on Netflix, I would recommend.
Jesus, I don't think if I watch it alone, is it going to kill me?
if you watch
Do I
it
need
alone,
people around me to
it's
absorb
watching The Ring.
my
No,
energy?
it's just a communal. It brings people together. Matt, we're all in the bathroom. There's an intermission where they have a countdown clock telling you, it says interval, but there's 3 R's in interval, and it starts at 7 minutes. And we all ran to the bathroom, and we're all in the bathroom. Everyone's just like talking and
peeing and shit.
We're peeing and we're talking about what a great experience we're having. So this is a communal experience movie. RRR, highly recommend. All I knew was on Twitter people were raving about it. Now I've seen it, and I've seen the light. So there you go.
Well, fuck me. My movie didn't change my life. That sucks. My movie is one you're perfectly fine watching alone and via streaming
on a tiny
like on your phone possible. If you could watch it at the Shell gas station on the TV screen that pops up when you start pumping gas, please do. Actually, I think the only way you can kind of see mine, I didn't check on Just Watch, but it's on Shudder, so I don't know if it's a Shudder exclusive. This is a horror comedy, and it's called Vicious Fun, and it's about 100 minutes long.
Okay.
And it is I'll just be very quick here. I'll say this: the first few minutes of this movie, I was like, ugh, like because of the lead character, but that was the point. The point was they took this sort of insufferable character and they turn it on its head a little bit. He's pining. He's like in love with his female roommate, and no one likes him. And so he's a very and he's like an insufferable, he's an actual film critic in an old, sort of horror zine magazine called Vicious Fanatics. And basically he winds up accidentally crashing a secret support group for serial killers. And it's a fun concept, viciously fun. And it doesn't have anyone super famous in it. David Koechner, old SNL alum, is in it, as well as
Anchorman is how most people would know him.
Robert Millett, who people might know from WWF/WWE as part of the Oddities. He was Kurgan, but he's also been in Deadpool 2 and Sherlock Holmes and a lot of stuff. A big French dude. And the guy who plays Death on Supernatural, whose name I don't know.
But also Ari Millen from Orphan Black.
Ari Millen from Orphan Black has a big role in this. And so the lead is Evan Marstow, and he is actually he annoyed me for about 2 minutes, and then he became very funny. So I enjoyed this movie. It sort of I won't say too much about it, but yeah, it sort of spirals from there as he tries to sort of A, fit in with this group because he doesn't know what he's walked into, and B, when he's found out, everything just sort of goes crazy. And each of the serial killers is kind of a type. There's a Jason type, and there's a I think you mentioned Ari Millen plays almost sort of like a American Psycho Patrick Bateman type.
That makes sense.
So yeah, it's really fun. It's actually a recent movie from just 2020, and very sort of low budget Canadian film that I really dug. I thought it was funny. Did it change my life? It fucking didn't. But I think
it's okay.
If RRR isn't playing anywhere near you, and you don't want to have a life-changing experience via Netflix, and you have Shudder, a lot of variables here. I recommend Vicious Fun.
This segment is called "A Good Thing to Enjoy, Not a Good Thing to Change Your Life." I just happened to
you changed the script on me. Yeah,
no, it is also RR is also enjoyable, but no, Vicious Fun sounds right up my alley as well.
Yeah, So if you're bouncing around Shudder and you're like, hey, I'll check this out.
I do bounce around Shudder. I just watched Terror Train on Shudder a couple weeks ago.
Good for you. I'm very happy you did that. I don't know what that is. So
it's Jamie Lee Curtis. It's one of
the original, the old movie. Okay, I thought it was, for some reason I was talking about a new movie, so I thought that was new too. Yeah, Terror Train. Okay, let's get into Tootsie. I forget, Eric. Had you seen Tootsie?
Yes, I remember my parents. My parents would take me to everything when I was a little kid, regardless of.
That's not a word, but yeah.
Regardless,
let's talk about Poltergeist. Yeah,
regardless of whether I would like it or care about it or it was appropriate. Although I guess maybe they were either in tune with what I was going to be or just understood, or it helped shape the fact that I liked movies. So I actually didn't dislike almost any of these things. But yes, my parents took me to Tootsie. I remember that, and then. Maybe that's the only time I saw it in its entirety but I definitely remember watching parts of it on cable several times after that. But there were also parts of this movie I didn't remember at all. I didn't remember the whole like going to Charles Durning's like farmhouse part of the movie. I remembered very well the end of the movie, his big reveal scene.
Going to Charles Durning's farmhouse sounds like a weird like euphemism for something else. I don't know.
I feel maybe it is. I feel like I would see the end of the movie on cable a lot, like before something else, because I felt like I've watched that big reveal many times. But yes.
So you mean like when he reveals himself on the soap?
Yes. So my long answer is I've definitely seen this movie once in its entirety and probably a couple other times. Yeah.
Never seen it, knew about it, not enough to not know that the main character was not named Tootsie.
Sure.
Still aggravates me. Actually named either Dorothy or Dottie, which is what my great aunt's name was. I had a great aunt named Dottie, or Michael Dorsey, out of work actor, played by Dustin Hoffman. Directed by Sidney Pollack, the late Sidney Pollack, who I've seen him act in movies more than I've seen his movies. And he does have a really impressive filmography as a director.
Yes.
Sometimes acting, like in this case, in a movie that he's directed. But yeah, like he's done a lot of Robert Redford movies. So 3 Days of the Condor and Out of Africa and Havana. What else? The Electric Horseman, and probably the movie that affected me the most growing up in the 80s and 90s was The Firm. I did see Sabrina, but
I saw The Firm.
The Firm was a good movie.
It is a good movie.
Yeah. Sabrina was an a remake movie. I did not see Random Hearts, his other Harrison Ford movie. But yeah, Sidney Pollack. But yeah, I knew him mostly from, in more recent years, from Stanley Kubrick's final film, Eyes Wide Shut, and then also what was it, Michael Clayton?
Yeah. And also Woody Allen's Husbands and Wives.
That's right.
Which Ben Stiller's show parodied
when they were the Universal monsters.
Yes. So interesting career, because he was a very well-regarded director. But then not only did he sometimes act in his own stuff, like he's in Tootsie, has Michael's agent, but he was just a respected actor who very notable directors would cast in their films. So
he plays the agent George in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we also have Jessica Lange, who won an Oscar for this film, and an impressive cast including Terry Garr, who
I bet a lot of people surprised you here, huh? Because there's a lot of people in this movie.
Yeah, well, I knew the only one I really knew was Charles Durning.
Okay, interesting.
Because I'm all about Charles Durning's farm.
You're like you. You're like, I've got a fan site for Charles Durning. So.
And did I know Dabney Coleman was in it? I certainly didn't know that Commandant Lassard or Punky Brewster's dad was in this movie. No idea. Sure. And this was Gina Davis's first film role. And did not know Bill Murray was in it, but then also Bill Murray goes uncredited because he wanted to be, because he was Bill Murray and he thought he was doing it for the bit.
Even though he has a fairly big role in the film. Yes,
he does. The one that was due to which I was reading fun facts about this movie online. Elaine May did a rewrite on this, created that character for Bill Murray. Bill Murray improvised most of his lines, reportedly. And also she did most of Terry Garr's character Sandy's dialogue. Terry Garr had been acting for like 25 years previous to this movie. She'd been around a long time.
Also, I don't know about you, Matt, but as like kids of the 80s, one of the things I remember is like Terry Garr and Dabney Coleman were like big presences, especially Dabney Coleman, who was just in a lot, like in the 80s. So like even in the 90s, he was in hit movies in the 90s, but in the 80s, it was like he had large roles in a lot of things. So it's just an interesting time as far as like, it was Dabney's era. We were just living in it.
Well, I knew him in the 80s, mostly movies that came after this one, War Games and Cloak and Dagger and Dragnet.
War Games and Cloak and Dagger is the double feature I saw at the New Beverly a few years ago, a Dabney double.
I was going to say, it was the doubling up on the Dabney there. That's pretty good. And then, I don't know that I knew him from much else because I never had seen 9 to 5. But yeah, Dragnet.
I saw 9 to 5 when I was a little kid as well. Yeah.
When your parents took you to see Poltergeist, did they just leave you in the theater alone and go see something else?
No. Because as we've joked about, my dad never seemed like that excited about anything, but my mom was excited about everything, and she was excited about horror stuff. So
your mom was in horror movies, so yeah,
she was. Yes.
Okay, so Tootsie has a lot of, so we're looking at Tootsie now 40 years later through the lens of 2022. It's a very interesting movie. It has some progressive elements to it that I think still hold up today, and then some things that don't.
Right.
And that's
but there's a much worse version of this movie from 1982 that this is not, thankfully. Like
yes, there's a much definitely worse things that sitcom version of this called Work It. Yes. That we could also talk about, in the sense that, okay, so if we're taking the worst elements of Work It, which is A, playing women in drag for comedy, and B, the men who dress up like women are regarded as smarter and more competent than the actual women they're competing for jobs with. And they're called out as such. It's like, man, we've had idiots in here all day. Thank God you two women have come along, and they're really men dressed as women. And so there's a little bit of Work It origins here going on. But I will say that one saving grace here, and we should also mention the elephant in the room being Dustin Hoffman and other people who are working on this movie, as far as like the era, Dustin Hoffman himself being called out for toxic and sexual misconduct behavior in the past few years as well. And a lot of people saying that this was sort of a feminist movie for the time, made by a bunch of sexist men. Like a bunch of the cast has already mentioned that. And character-wise, though, story-wise, the fact that Michael Dorsey is an out-of-work actor and as a man is so argumentative and hard to work with that nobody wants to hire him, which is something that women get all the time, which is that if a woman has an opinion or has a strong stance on something, she's a bitch and is labeled as such and won't be worked with. He is actually that version, but as a man. But when he becomes a woman, it's only his confidence as a man and his privilege as a man previous to dressing up in drag that allows him to feel like he has the power to change lines or to fly in the face of people who are giving him, who are his superiors, his bosses, and so forth.
Right.
Whereas women feel like they don't have that power. And so he creates this very powerful female character because of his experience as a man. And so it's sort of like he's inspiring women, but also it's like he's not, I don't know, it's not quite there. This movie isn't quite there with the message. I don't know. Does that make sense? Where it's
no, I get it. Yeah, it's like, again, it's like at the time, very progressive. There's a lot of things about this movie that were fairly progressive at the time, but of course, we're going to look at through a modern lens. But it's like also what you're saying about the like, the best woman for a job is a man. It's not doing that, even though it's sort of doing that. Like even with the whole, because the whole thing with the part is that Terry Garr's character Sandy, she's going to audition for it. And first there's the whole thing where she's not acting tough enough. He's so hard on her, like getting her to be tougher. But it is couched in him saying there's a lot of women who'd be great for this. So it's not like he's saying like no women could do this part. And also the fact that she doesn't even get to audition. Like they see her and they're like, you're not right for the part.
There's an interesting thing in this movie too about homely, ugly women, which is, and if you've, one thing I have heard Dustin Hoffman, I haven't seen the movie until now, but I have heard him talk about the movie over the years, and he gets dead serious. He gets teary-eyed. He treats this movie, he said it many times, as a drama. And a big part of it is his own realization. This is what he claims, as far as like when he's in drag, he considers himself to be an unattractive woman, and how doing this role made him realize how little attention he has paid over his own years to unattractive women in his life, at parties, at events, in life, and how they feel disregarded, and how it's opened his eyes to that. And so there's an element of that in this movie as well, where there are ugly jokes where, people operating the cameras in the production booth are sort of like, pull back, don't get a close up, stuff like that about what Dustin Hoffman, what Michael looks like dressed up like Dorothy. So there's an element of that where it's sort of juxtaposed with Jessica Lange's beautiful Julie, and sort of basically the idea that she doesn't feel like she has any agency at all, and is only sort of there for her looks. I don't know. It's an interesting thing they play with, and and again, like you said, there's a much worse movie, 1982 movie that could have been done here. I feel like for the era, considering that some of the movies that also came out during this time, this is very, I got nervous for this movie, Eric. When you mentioned it, I was like, oh no, Tootsie. Like,
right. No, I wondered what it would be like. I knew it wouldn't be like, because I knew the movie's still well regarded, so I knew it wasn't going to be like a Revenge of the Nerds thing where
I get it. I understand that, but also the one thing that made me question that and saying like, you know what, maybe it's not as bad being, even though it's 40 years old, maybe it actually handles things with a little bit of tact and taste, is the fact that, but we mentioned last week, there's the musical is going on in LA right now. So it's not, they can do a stage musical of it in this year,
which was like a Tony nominated musical like 2 years ago. Yeah. But yeah, like even because the arc in the movie, is obviously like, he kind of articulates at the end, but it's like, that there's shitty things about him. He's a great actor, but basically him being told by Cindy Pollock that you're an asshole, no one wants to work with you. But also like we see at his birthday party where he's going over to every woman he thinks is attractive and being like, are you an actress? And being like hitting on them. And that when he is in drag, there's not the like shticky, like while he's falling for Jessica Lange, the movie's not about him like being like, I'm going to get in with the ladies. Like, they do the little bit of like the fact that Gina Davis walks around in her underwear and he's like, trying
for a second, I thought we were only ever going to see her in her underwear. right. Because two scenes go by and it's just her scantily clad. I
wanted to mention, by the way, did you catch a We Enjoy podcast all-star in the party scene at the beginning, his birthday party? The second woman he hits on, the one that he's bummed leaves with another guy, is Christine Ebersol of My Girl 2. We talked about her, and she's also plays Lucia Ball in Licorice Pizza, recent recommendation of mine. So this is a Christine Ebersol podcast appreciation.
I feel like this movie holds up better than Licorice Pizza. Okay, so the other funny thing about Tootsie is that it does give us the classic men in drag comedy beats, including the man falling in love with, which goes back to Some Like It Hot. That's in every
that always happened
in the 80s. That was huge. Like Tango and Cash dressed up like women.
Bosom buddies, of course.
Outrageous. Well, no. Armed and Dangerous. Eugene Levy and John Candy dressed up, and there was always for a laugh someone who didn't realize it was men in drag who was instantly in love with them. Just instantly has gaga eyes. So this movie even has that, and yet it's also played a little bit better and a little more tenderly than the other movies. So this movie has the cliches, but it still sort of expounds and expands upon them in a way that makes it work for a little more of a thoughtful, cerebral movie than what we get with just sort of outright shticky comedy.
And it's funny because obviously, like everything is so different today, and like today we have such a different, still unfortunately like off debated, but like there's a much more understanding and nuance to like, both people in drag, but obviously then there's a whole trans people thing and all these things. This movie is not about. It was just being like he's dressing like a woman, but it wasn't doing it like you said, like in the much more sticky way of a lot of things at the time. And also to the movie's credit, especially because it's 40 years old, is like the closest we get to like EU is Durning's character, who is portrayed to be old-fashioned and like, hey, I'm all for women, but they shouldn't be trying to get her. It's like his character is portrayed to be like an old-fashioned, not with the times guy. And then it's funny when you mentioning Bill Murray improving most of his dialogue, which I kind of figured. He has like one of the only like, okay, yeah, that line today wouldn't really fly, which is when he's like, yeah, it's just for the money. Why is Hoffman's character doing this? He's like, it's just for the money, right? It's not so you can wear this outfit, which is like the one, like, that would be gross. Like if you wanted to wear this dress for your own pleasure or satisfaction, that would be disgusting. But luckily this movie is not filled with that, which I think a lot of other movies of that era might have been. It's like it's a pretty small part of it, you know.
And it's funny because Charles Durning on his beautiful farm,
Yes.
even said,
we do love that
like,
farm.
He's like, I'm an old-fashioned guy. He's like, the bulls were this and the cows are that and the roosters are this and the chickens are that, whatever. Like, so men are men, women are women. But then he also says, like, you just were what you were, which felt like a really much better evergreen blanket statement for like gender politics. Like, you are what you are, like, not like assigned, but like whatever you feel. That's not what he meant, but that's what I like to take it as. So let's start off this movie, which is like, it starts with some smooth jazz, which is a big part of this film as well. And then we've got Michael Dorsey, master of disguise, the deadly art of illusion, putting on all of his sort of like different gear for auditions. And it's going back and forth between him being sort of inspirational and insightful in an acting class as their teacher, their mentor, or just he's like a leader of the class.
And he's an acting teacher. Yeah.
And then, but then also going out for all these different auditions where he's either too old, too young, too tall, or whatever.
Hoffman willing to be in on the fact that he's a very small guy. So there's like the whole thing where he's like, I'm wearing lifts, like, you know, the fact that his character.
I do wonder how much of Gene Cousineau from Barry is in this.
No, there's definitely some Gene. This is proto Gene. Also, it tells you pretty upfront that he's like at least semi-method. In a subtle way, which I appreciated, which is the part where he's auditioning for like a tough guy and he's talking in that voice when they're just giving him, when he's like, oh, you want me to stand over here? Like, he's like doing that voice before he's reading the part. So we get that, which is both going to help inform you on the fact that he could be Dorothy, but also the fact that maybe people think he's an asshole who's like too into himself.
Yeah, once it came out that he was difficult to work with and no one would hire him, it was like, oh, this is super Gene Cousineau. But also like really effective as a teacher, like inspiring, and like the best work is like, and it's one of those things where the old idiom is that those who can't do teach, but it's like sometimes that is the calling, right? Teaching is the actual calling because of your ability to mold and craft and mentor others. So that's sort of his blessing and curse at the beginning of this movie, but he doesn't see the blessing in it, only the curse for out of work, being an out of work actor. So the whole thing is that Bill Murray is his roommate. His name is Jeff, I believe, and he wrote a play, and they want to put this play on, so they're trying to raise money, which is why he goes to this audition in the first place. It's only as a lark to raise money to put on Jeff's play, I don't know, in the Catskills, somewhere upstate. And but so that's he does this, he gets the role, jumping ahead a little bit, but yeah, that's the idea, is that never expected to be like a huge sensation. I have no idea how long this movie takes. And I'll ask you this a little bit later on about the montage sequence. I have questions about that. But so we basically...
It feels like it has to be at least a year, right? Because then they want to up the contract. So I feel like...
It's crazy because it does feel like a year, but also like... It also could be 3 weeks, but then that makes the montage like a dream sequence.
Yeah, I think we have to go with the year, but I agree with you that it doesn't feel like a year, even though I think we're supposed to feel like
it can't feel like a year because they keep doing it's the next day. And then, honestly, Eric, he keeps making dinner dates with Sandy, played by Terry Garr.
Yes.
Canceling.
Who's really getting Bill Pullman here. Poor Terry Garr.
Bill Pullman here, but also kind of like...
Who's a perfectly attractive, likable person.
Right. And the fact that like he sleeps with her as a way to like cover up just like trying on her clothes is like, I want you. And then they, like,
right.
But then even at the end, Julie is like, these last few weeks have meant so much to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
like, so I don't think it's a year. It feels like a year, but also I feel like it could be a month because
it's
which
a little,
makes the whole
hasty.
TV Guide and New York Magazine, People Magazine thing pretty weird.
Oh, I mean, like amazing, like every cover possible. Cosmo, like just
but yeah, so like I have questions about the timeline of this movie based on the dialogue and based on like the Sandy situation. But yeah, this was an era back in the 90s, and there's a real reason why the 70s and 80s were the heyday for serial killers as well. Pre-internet and during this time when the lead poisoning of the 40s, 50s, and 60s was finally grabbing a hold of adult brains and making people go crazy, is the fact that this was an era you could just go into a room and say, hey, my name's Ralph, and nobody would check. Like, I am this person, and there is no way to do background checks on me or find out if I'm real. You could leave your family and move 5 miles away and no one would ever find you. This was just a time when, so right. Yeah, Michael Dorsey could become Dorothy Michaels. Is that the,
yes.
This is a flip on the name?
The switchback, yeah.
And no one would ever follow up on this as far as like, also acting credits. I don't know what was on that resume. I don't think.
No, they say that when Dorothy shows up, doesn't have resume with her, but I also want to know, even though it'd be more complicated now, I'm like, how did this paperwork?
How did he get paid?
Yeah. I know that like they were using like, Sidney Pollack's agent was like being listed as Dorothy's agent, but still there need to be like social security number and like all this.
I know, you do have to fill out HR, even though it was the 80s.
Right.
It wasn't that much of the Wild Wild West. Anyway, Sandy is also, I mentioned that Elaine May wrote a lot of the dialogue, but also Terry Garr. A lot of people were sort of talked into this movie. Jessica Lange was, Terry Garr was, Sidney Pollack was, even though he was the director, into actually acting into the movie. Terry Garr also improvised some stuff, including the trapped in the bathroom for a half-hour scene. So that was her whole bit. Very fun, very likable. Was torn at the beginning. I didn't know how the movie ended. So yes. I was like, is it that some kind of wonderful situation where he winds up
right where the really friend Sandy. Yeah, I didn't remember that either, how it ended, so I was curious about that too, especially because no shade on the great Jessica Lange, but I love Terry Garr. Like, Terry Garr was a very comforting presence in my youth, mostly because of Miss Mom, but also another movie that dealt with gender
Mom,
issues.
You really want to say Miss Marvel because it's coming out.
But I do.
Mr. Mom,
but Mr. Mom, and also I guess Close Encounters, which I would have just seen on TV.
And Young Frankenstein, yeah.
And Young Frankenstein, yeah. So did you also read that the funny thing of that they wrote the agent for Dabney Coleman, but then Dustin Hoffman's like, Sidney, you should play this part, but then they didn't want to screw over Dabney, so they gave him a different part, so he played the director instead.
Good, I'm glad that they didn't screw over Dabney, because he's out there double Dabneying for everyone during double features. So then it gets to the point where Sandy's going in for this audition. She is just sent out of the room, is told that she's not even right for it. And then we get the meeting with the agent where he says, you're unlikable. No one's going to work with you anywhere. And then cut to, we don't even need the like initial putting on the makeup and wig.
Yeah, there's way less like most of it's funny that it's like, it's funny that how easily he does it or decides to do it. But I also admire it because usually there's a lot more of a contrivance of the like, wait a minute, like there's like usually like a big setup when a character decides to do something like this.
It was a great cut too. It was a great, great, just instant like walking down the busy New York street dressed
and because Dorothy. The opening montage again also sets the stage of him like putting on his own makeup for all these different roles and stuff. So it's like we don't need to see the first Tootsying or
because he's Brian Brown, Deadly Art of Illusion.
That's right.
Okay, and then it's. Again, this is all just sort of a bit, a ruse, a goof to raise this $8,000 to put on Jeff's play. And from the get-go, Michael has the confidence of a man on a set, even though he's just auditioning, even and dressed like a woman, sticks it right to the director almost immediately.
Right.
And it's something that rings enough bells that gets Dorothy an audition. And then basically from there, still changing the lines and dialogue and so forth. And it basically nails the role and gets this part as, what is the I can't remember the actual character name. Emily.
Oh, I think Emily. Yeah. And also really impresses the producer.
Emily Kimberly.
Rita, who is played by Doris Bullock, who was just a very familiar face as like a character actress. And I looked at what she was in, and she was in like Batteries Not Included and Naked Gun to 33 1/3. And I was like, yeah, she's just one of those people I recognize from stuff. back then. Also, this is a daytime soap, and it's the 1980s, which is kind of the heyday for daytime soaps. Like we're in like the General Hospital being like a mega event show. Dustin Hoffman apparently like shadowed the set of the General Hospital to research this. But also it's funny that George Gaines's character feels very true to life as far as like there is like these older actors on these soaps that have been there forever. It's just in the 80s, he's only been there for 20 years because, we could keep going with these actors who stick around for decades on these shows. And soaps notoriously move really fast, and a lot of actors in this case it's like he's old and not good anymore, and he's using cue cards left and right. Now, Matt, I will also say my other quibble with this movie is that this apparently is a soap opera with only 4 lead actors, where I know daytime soaps have giant casts, and they certainly wouldn't have only George Gaines. Even if he's the patriarch who gets to kiss all the ladies, they'd have a hunky young doctors on this show. But we never see them.
I feel like while the timeline confuses me, I am perfectly fine accepting that there are just scenes of they're just scenes of shows we don't see, and also because Dorothy's given the female dressing room, we don't see all the young hot studs that are on this show. Who George Gaines also kisses. We just don't know that.
All right.
Well, it's everyone.
We should have gotten that.
So then we get.
I'm very excited.
Very excited.
What a legend. Hey,
when is our Police Academy
our
watch?
second episode of this podcast.
When's our Police Academy watch?
Oh, geez. I'll have to decide.
Okay, so
that one we're going to do every episode of every TV show, though.
There's little gags here and there as far as like that come with this territory of like, Michael basically learning like how hard it is to be a woman and have to put on makeup and have to like be presentable in a certain way and have to find different outfits for everything and different clothing. And so over the course of the movie becomes a little more in tune and astute when it comes to that. Like, I don't like that dress. It makes me look like this. Like very hyper aware of his appearance, though, in a way that he never had to before, not just because he's trying to pass as a woman, but also just like gets caught up in the distorted image that so many women have of themselves. Because of the comparisons that are made in the media. So we get little gags here and there about that, as far as like his he now has a favorite outfit, or he likes this look on him. And mixed with bounces off with Jeff a little bit with that too. Yeah,
it's certainly played for comedy and gags, but also the movie rides this fine line, because then there's like the empathy side of it where he's saying to Jeff like how expensive it feels to be a woman, and not in a like shitty way, not in a like, oh, they spend this money they don't need, more feeling like he feels the pressure now.
Well, it's so he kind of brings up the pink tax, right? Where it's like, not only do female products cost more than male products, but also they have to buy so much more and spend so much money on these different things for health and beauty that men don't need to, or don't care to do, or aren't expected to do. So where I always think of that, like how much more it costs a woman just to go out and do an event and do something than it does a man. So he's learning that as well. Then comes the scene where he basically has sex with Sandy just to cover up the fact that he's living a life as Dorothy, the actress on the soap opera. But then even then it's super cash, and it's never like, no one's really falling for anyone, and she's super guarded about it anyway. Yes. And it gets to the point where after so many like dinners that he's blown off halfway through this movie, I'm like, okay, they're not planting the seed with Sandy deep enough. I mean, he did, but
then she's off camera for a long time.
She leaves the movie for too long for him to like come around to Sandy in the end. It just felt like she's in the movie so much in the first act that you kind of expect that. That's just where these kind of movies go. But yeah, they really do in earnest make Julie the love interest, which I will say, I do not buy her accepting his apology at the end. They're just some sort of like, nope, get lost, creep. I'm just moving on, not giving you another chance. The end of that movie, the very end, not the scene where he like takes off the wig on camera. The very end, when he just finds her on the street and is like, hey, give me another chance. I'm Michael. and basically gives the tagline of the movie, which is "I learned to be a better man as a woman."
Yeah.
Reminds me of, because it's a movie I rewatched not too long ago, Sea of Love. I think a lot of old movies just didn't know how to end right before the credits, so they just had the guy find the girl on the street.
Sure.
And said, hey, remember when I did all these terrible things to you? Where in Sea of Love's case, which is like, think you were a murderer and draw my gun on you several times. And they're just like, and the woman just like basically accepts their apology. It just feels like such quick wrap up horse shit, especially here. This was a full betrayal. I didn't buy it at all.
I guess my liked buying it. I guess. I mean, I
buy it as much as that it's a movie,
right.
But like,
I will say, but at least the movie kind of ends interestingly. I'd say still a bit ambiguous because they don't even kiss. Like there is not the promise that they are a couple or anything.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
She's like, letting him like walk with her, but it doesn't quite do the like full romantic comedy ending I expected. Like, it's like, they don't have like, the huge kiss swelling music. They're just like walking down the street talking to each other. And also it's like he's not like back on the soap or anything. Like, so it isn't kind of a quiet ending, even though, yes, there's the version where she's like, screw you, I'm never talking to you again. At least it doesn't kind of go all the way on the flip side, like where, we're 100% sure everything is great in Michael's life now.
Cut to them getting married or with the dad's ring.
There is a post-credit scene. I forgot. Yeah.
Anyway, I jumped all the way to the end. But yeah, so basically Tootsie Mania sort of takes off, even though the character's not named Tootsie, but they have the Go Tootsie Go song.
They do.
That is not quite my Mitchell, but it's a weird thing to hear in 2022. It's something that movies used to do. They used to have theme songs.
Well, I love every 80s movie had a theme song. And Andy Warhol makes a surprise celebrity cameo.
Again, dream sequence, or was it a year? Everything I see on screen points to it only being like maybe a month, but
a busy month.
Pop culture phenomenon, Tootsie Mania running wild, all these magazine covers, including what would become the poster, which is like Tootsie with the Star-Spangled background. Tootsie running for office. I don't know. How long did this last?
I don't know. Before that, we get I can't remember if it's the same montage. Maybe it's kind of the lead in or earlier, which is like people watching, Dorothy on the show and getting really invested. And I was impressed in 1982. Of course, it was Sony product, but the woman who's hiding the very small TV in her desk drawer. I was like, I didn't know that you could get a colored TV that small in 1982. That's impressive.
And the montage doesn't come till a bit later, but that Tootsie song was there. Basically,
yes, because we get the Tootsie song twice. You're right.
Yeah. So basically, at this point, he's lying to Sandy, saying he's sick because he wants to hang out with Julie. He's doing all these things, putting it off. He finally gets introduced to Julie's dad, and basically, on the set, standing up to changing things going on. He sees Dabney Coleman's character Ron, who's the director, kissing Gina Davis. He's growing more and more infatuated with Julie. And then basically Julie invites him over to run lines. And this is one of the times he cancels on. Actually, this is the time he doesn't cancel on Sandy, but he winds up being there 3 hours late.
Yeah.
And, speaking to him becoming a better man as a woman, which Blake Edwards also did with the movie Switch, by the way, where the character just became Ellen Barkin instead of dressing up like a woman.
Right.
Is when like he's late to Sandy and she's saying she's sorry. And he says, why are you apologizing to me when I was 3 hours late?
Right.
Like I think that's an important line. Like that's something that like is still something that probably women feel the need to do now, when a man is in the wrong.
And showing his gradual growth, even as he's being shitty to Sandy and showing up hours late. He's more aware of it now. Yeah.
So so we find out Julie has a 14 month-old daughter named Amy, and but yeah, basically he's just getting more and more sprung on Julie, to the point where at a party, an actual party where he attends as Michael Dorsey, he tries a line, the exact. I was very ballsy, by the way, of him to try the exact word for word. He didn't paraphrase it at all.
Nope.
I didn't know what he was trying to do with that. Like maybe he was trying to reveal himself in a way where Julie would be like, "What, Dorothy? Is that you?" You know?
Yeah.
But then she throws a drink all over him, and doesn't work. And then back to the soap where Dorothy's changing lines and refusing to tell an abused, basically wife and mother, certain things, and wants her to fight back against her husband and leave him. Throwing a vase against
throwing
the
wall. Vase, yes. Going big. Actually, I wanted to,
but that was the big moment, and that's what leads into the montage. But yeah.
But I was just going to say that the when we find out that she has a kid, I think it's a sign of 1982 times that it's like a notable little beat of him being like, "Oh, you're divorced," and she's like, "No, I've never been married." That it's like, it would stand out more that she like never, she had a kid, never having been married.
It is interesting. I would love to have learned a little bit more about Julie in this movie, considering her father was so old-fashioned and did sort of have these antiquated ideas. And like, what did he think of his granddaughter? And I mean, they went to visit him on the farm, obviously, but like, who was the father and what was the deal? And, this was, a father was somebody who married his high school sweetheart.
Only had photos taken of him twice in his life.
I know. Well, it steals his soul.
Okay. 2 slivers of the
All
soul.
Right. And then, so basically, let's see, what are we doing?
Well, we're
so basically he fakes an entire thing to go away with Julie for the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And
for the holidays, again, in the vague passage of time.
You can vanish at this time. There's no social media. He could just say, "Hey, I'll talk to Sandy. I'll see you. I'll talk to you next week." That's it.
If I'm not dead.
If I'm not dead. And he's rushing this courtship with Julie because he says his contract, he's like, "I'll never see her after 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, I won't see her anymore. My contract's up. What am I gonna do?" Again, passage of time. I don't know what this is. But yeah, so then goes to the farm, has a basically an interesting interaction with Julie's baby Amy. We're like hugging it, feeling very sort of like emotional about it, but then unable to take care of Amy later on in the movie in the same way.
Right. Also, as the thing of, I did like the touch of starts talking to the baby just in the Dorothy voice, but then as time goes on, drops it and starts speaking in his normal voice. But I want to mention again, this is where we get at the farm. It Might Be You playing, which when it first began, I didn't recognize. And then I'm like, oh, this is like a giant hit song. It was nominated. It was one of the 10 Oscar nominations this movie had, was for song. But this was like charted, this song, on the adult contemporary charts. And Matt, I'm 90% sure. Do you remember as strongly as I do that
I'm going to say no if it has to do with this song, because I don't remember this song.
Okay. So. Several years after this, when you and I first knew each other,
and we did this song played when we saw each other from across the cafeteria?
First time, no. That at the Lowe's 84th Street Theater, pretty much the entire time I lived in New York for those 2 years, and we would go to that theater almost every weekend, they had adult contemporary music, the same, grouping of adult contemporary music would play before movies. Because this before there was a pre-show or any of that shit we get now.
Yeah, there was no pre-show. Yeah.
And I'm 90% sure this was one of the songs. The one I absolutely am certain was one of the songs was Elton John, Your Song. I will always remember hearing Elton John, Your Song every weekend at Lowe's 84th Street. But I believe that It Might Be You by Stephen Bishop was another song that we heard at Lowe's 84th.
Jesus Christopher Christ, your memory. It's like a steel trap. I have no recollection. I'm just saying,
we would hear these songs all the time.
No recollection of the songs that fucking played before the movies at Lowe's.
I'm saying, but it was the same songs every week.
I don't care if it was the same songs. I don't care if it was David Hasselhoff's Limbo Dance over and over again. I was not going to remember this.
You were like, I was not listening to this.
The only thing I remember song-wise about Lowe's 84th was us making each other laugh by just imagining Honky Tonk Man singing his song in the theater, and then somehow all the employees joining in on the Honky Tonk Man.
I recall that as well, but that only happened once. We would hear your song by Elton John every single time.
Right, but you understand, to me now, the only song that really ever played at Lowe's 84th was the Honky Tonk Man's entrance theme.
Sure, yes,
which never happened.
But it did
in our joke.
Okay. That's my aside about It Might Be You being from this. I had no idea that song was from this movie, so there you go.
And then there was sort of the body titillating noises offness of them having to share a bed, and like the fact that he brought along a wig with curlers in it already to put on his head.
That's forward thinking,
and falling in love, and he's falling in love with her, and then Charles Durning, it works and it doesn't. The marriage proposal is a crazy thing.
Yes.
That I'm still willing to let slip, even though it's insane for the movie, for somebody who has got no signals at all that Dorothy is interested at all. Like Dorothy does everything in Dorothy's power to sort of slip out of every situation, and is verbally uncomfortable around all of Charles Durning's courtship. But so the fact that it's like, marry me, like, I don't, as old fashioned as he is, I don't think that's how that even worked back in his time. So, and that was like a weird rush part of the movie too, where it's sort of like, take you out to dancing. Like, why? What's happening? Like, why is Dorothy going out dancing? It's one thing for Julie to say, my father's coming into town. He really wants to see you. He also wants to taking Dorothy out, like, to paint the town. Right. Like, how is it a date? How did it wind up on a date with, I don't even, what is Durning's name? So I don't just keep calling him Charles Durning. Les, that's right. Les, yes. It's a weird part of the movie. Again, it's also not played as terribly as it could have been at all.
That's our constant caveat about this movie.
It's like but yeah, then comes the worst. Because Tootsie Minnie is running wild, they want to actually re-up the contract, and here's the dilemma too, where it's like, for
another 5 years, because this movie's taking place over 5 years.
A lifetime contract. Like Michael just grows old as like one of the George Gaines veteran actors on the series. Right. Which is weird, because there's a point where he is in on it. Like, he's talking to George the agent, and he's like, we could do Dorothy this and Dorothy that and Dorothy Serial and Dorothy Variety Hour and Dorothy playing Eleanor Roosevelt. And then, like, obviously he doesn't want to get locked into a year again. Slipping me the reason, though. Why doesn't he want it? I mean, I know he just wants to do Jeff's play, but why?
I mean, I think that's just it. Like, it's a little sudden, but it just seems to be the realization that, like, I'll be trapped. Like, I want to do other things, and I'll be trapped. It's like it's
funny because he wants to.
He's like Caruso.
He wants to come clean. Yeah, he wants to come clean. But then George is also like, I'm going to be brought down by this too, because everyone's going to think I was in on it, and so on. So I don't know what happened to George at the end of this movie when he does take off the wig,
because he wasn't on it.
Yeah, he was. So who knows what happened? Just George's career's in the gutter.
He's like, he's like sitting outside the Russian tea room begging, and
then there's the kiss. The Dorothy kisses Julie,
which is a very progressively written scene.
It is, because it's like, again, like,
because of her reaction. Because
I'm just saying, like, 15 years later, Ace Ventura is basically like forcing himself to vomit in a toilet, because he thinks he kissed a man. So here it's kind of like nothing huge is made out of the fact that, like, Julie is like, oh, are you a lesbian? And then even later, like,
no, and one of her exact lines is even, it's me, I'm just not well adjusted enough. Yeah. Like, she's like on her, like, I'm sorry, I don't feel this way, I wish I did, is Julie's point of view, not the like, like,
which character asks Michael if he's gay?
I'm trying to remember that, because it's funny how he says in what sense, and I can't remember if it's Murray or Pollock. I sure remember who said. I put that quote, and I also forgot to put who.
One of them is the only. Aside from the Jeff Lang you mentioned, the homophobic line that stands out is Les saying basically like I would have punched you if we had actually kissed. But other than that, it's actually not played as like such a huge deal as far as like Dorothy is possibly a lesbian, right? Or is Michael gay? I just want to know. It wasn't like, are you gay? Because I'm done with you. It's like, hey, are you gay? Is this a thing?
Yeah, it feels like probably a reflection of the fact that this is a movie made by, even if no matter how shitty they might have been in their everyday life, fairly progressive people set in the New York theater scene, which is going to be fairly progressive, all things considered. And just, like the fact that it's like, these characters, like, especially her, like the fact that they do not have Jessica Lange's character in any way be like grossed out or freaked out. It's more just a like, I'm sorry, I'm not into this, like, is her reaction.
And then Sandy says, are you gay? Because of the thing, basically getting a box of chocolates from Les. She's like, are you gay? Then
that's right, it's Sandy.
Then it's the whole thing with Julie, and this is sort of like part of it takes a man dressed as a woman to get a woman to feel more empowered, because Julie's like, you taught me to stand up for myself. You taught me to stop hiding, all these things where you do wish that the sort of the messaging and the teachable moments in this movie could have come about in a different manner. It's one thing for him to become a better person. It's another for like, he's the catalyst for inspiration in women, which is a little on shaky ground. But then the reveal, the twist reveal, because they set it up earlier in the movie, like
Chekhov's going live.
Yeah, Chekhov's is like, our tape's ruined. We're gonna have to shoot these scenes or do it live tomorrow. So by the end, they do have to do it live, and this is when Michael.
For 1 second, I just want to say that. Also, it's funny, like a very of the era moment. Part feeling misogynist, part feeling sexual liberated. It's a weird mixture. Is when he tells George, the agent, that my friend Sandy thinks I'm gay. He goes, sleep with her, and then he goes, I already did. But it's just like she'll sleep with you. Like, it's like his assumption that like, oh, you'll prove you're not gay by having your female friend sleep with you. It's like, okay, sure.
And that's just something you can make happen because
right. There's no, she will not have a say on that. Yeah.
The reveal is very funny. That's sort of
that he writes it into the soap opera.
We should do Soap Dish at some point. Well, I don't know when, but it is funny because it does feel like something that you would see on a soap opera.
Mm-hmm.
Yet it's happening in real life. There is a cool meta element. I think that whole reveal works.
It does, and I actually laughed quite a bit at Charles Durning is eating some sort of like breakfast sandwich, and he does a funny little bit of a business of dropping the sandwich on his plate, but still bringing his hands to his mouth, like he hasn't noticed he dropped his sandwich, and it made me chuckle.
Durning was the master of the sandwich, sandwich gag.
You want me to do the drop the sandwich? Sure.
And classic Dern. And then Julie punches Michael in the stomach.
And Bill Murray has a very funny, that is one nutty hospital punchline to that.
It is a nutty hospital.
It is, yes.
And at that point, Michael's out. He's revealed himself to Julie. It's only up to Julie to accept him at the end during that weird scene that felt like, I was like, is this a reshoot? All those scenes feel like reshoots when they're not. But yeah, to your point, like, they didn't kiss. They never, I mean, the only kiss was the awkward one between Dorothy and Julie. So their future is TBD. We don't know.
It's funny. On one hand, I'm curious about the specifics we don't get. Like we mentioned, what happened? Was there fallout for George? Was it instantaneous that you're fired from the soap? Because wouldn't people be excited by the plot twist? And all that. But even though we don't get the specifics, we do see that him and Sandy are going to do that play. Jeff's play is happening. And that he has this reconciliation with Julie, but it doesn't end in a kiss. So we're we're left to speculate whether this means they will be happily ever after as a romantic couple, or perhaps
I don't know. That's for Tootsie 2 to answer.
That's for
decades
Tootsie,
later legacy sequel.
yeah, Tootsie
that
2049
introduces not just the new Tootsie, but also incorporates the old Tootsie.
legacy sequel.
Yeah. Funnily enough, Nev
Hoffman
Campbell
has to come
is
in
coming back for
2/3
Tootsie
into that
2.
movie now. What did you say?
I said, funnily enough, Nev Campbell is coming back for Tootsie.
Right. That's right. Did you enjoy Tootsie? I'm not even really sure.
I think I did. I think, yeah, it wasn't my favorite thing I've ever seen. It wasn't like RRR. It didn't change my life. But I was nervous to watch Tootsie because of what it was about, and having endured the first episode of Work It.
Right.
But it was a lot better than I thought it would be. Obviously, I didn't think A Complete Stinker was going to be the second highest grossing movie of 1982 and get a lot of Oscar nominations. But I understand what people would have found funny about this. You know, the moment when he's hailing a cab as Dorothy's voice, but then uses a man's voice to scream and get the cab, or you know, the broader moments of this type of style of this drag comedy were going to get the audience a lot. And
that's how you get them in the door. Yeah,
get them in the door, butts and seats, and ass every 18 inches.
I laughed when he's like walking around sad through the city right before the ending montage, and he shoves over a mime in the park. That made me laugh. Who amongst us would
a bunch
not?
of mime shovers out here?
Right.
Who hasn't shoved a mime in their time, right?
That's right. No, I like that. I mean, again, because while I've technically seen this movie, I might as well not have. It's been decades, and I was a very wee child.
I was going to say, like, I would count this as you not seeing the movie.
But I liked it. Yeah, I thought it was good. It was interesting. It was, I definitely see why it was a success. And I agree with you that it's like, there is a so much worse version of this, and you can find stuff from this era that is way worse. So even though it's like, yes, we'll have our modern day prism through it, I don't need to do my 20 reasons Tootsie would not hold up in 2022, because guess what? Nothing from 40 years ago is going to 100% hold up under our modern lens.
I am curious about the musical and about what they may have rewritten or reshuffled, not just to transfer it to a different medium, but also to update it.
I do know it's set. It's a music. It's a Broadway musical that he gets into, not a soap opera. And I know that one of the characters is a reality star. So there's your modernizing.
And someone's out there Snapchatting,
right, on the Insta.
But you know what? They're still pushing mimes. So as long as they're still shoving those silent bastards.
Yes, now they shove 2 mimes. You got to up the ante into this.
Oof. Yeah, I know, the rule of sequels, right? All right,
right.
so let's wrap up the Tootsie chat here. Next week is going to be The Secret of Nim, and which has mice and birds and secret
and it's going to turn out to be horribly offensive for our modern lens.
It's going to be this is the one where I'm like, oh, it's fine animated family fare, and it's going to be
it's offensive on every level imaginable.
It's going to be just the most toxic movie you've ever watched in your life. Actually, I mean, I do think there's some toxic sludge in it, but yeah.
Sure. Okay.
All right. Until then, everything is possible, but nothing is real. Especially not Michael Dorsey and Shakma.